right, what's up, y'all? Very excited to have John Seelbeiner here with me today. He's been on the podcast before. It's been a while since we've caught up. Well, it seems like a while. I mean, it's this summer, but lots has happened. Lots of things have happened in hospitality since then. And then John and his bride had their first beautiful baby girl came this year. So you've had a huge year, my friend, and you're up at Little City Brewing in Raleigh right now, right?
I'm at home right now, but I got the architect picture behind me and I've got the Little City shirt on. So we're repping the brand pretty good today.
Repping the brand. I hear you, man. So, okay. Well, you got multiple businesses. You guys have just had a crazy year, man. I've always admired you. You've always had that grit and that hustle. And you've had I mean, it's just ridiculous after the fire. And if you haven't heard the story, folks, listen to the previous episode. John and I talked about the fire randomly happened, several years ago, right up the street from one of his businesses. And I mean, you have just been through the ringer, man. But there you are, still there, still cranking, figuring it out.
And it's daily. It's crazy because it sounded a lot of times after that fire happened across the street from us and it shut down everything, revenue dropped overnight and it just didn't come back. The first time, I mean, March is like, avoid me during mid-March because mid-March is March 16th, 2017 is fire. March 17th, 2020 is pandemic, right? Like, I guess St. Patrick's Day is not my lucky day, right?
Dude.
So that happened. And for a long time, man, I mean, 2.5 years it took to rebuild the neighborhood for the first time since the fire. Beginning of March 2020, we are finally brewing at capacity for the first time. Our revenue's coming back up. The neighborhood has been rebuilt for the most part. There was still some construction going on behind us. And we're tracking. And then we shut down for COVID. And I think one of the eye-opening things is, the one thing about COVID is people knew right away, the government knew right away that if they didn't put some money into the economy, that businesses were going to close and they weren't coming back. And so a lot did. For some people, that stimulus was a stimulus. I mean, if you lost 25 or 30% of your revenue and you got some money, you probably thrived from that. For a lot of us, I mean, many of us in the restaurant bar industry, we know that we were shut down, and that was a lifeline. And we're still kind of grinding forward. And I can tell you that COVID to me felt just like the years that I was grinding out. I mean, I had the doors open, but we were losing money every day that we were open. So it certainly was a little bit of a, I mean, it's hard not to feel like you're making an excuse when you get knocked off your pedestal and they're like, why isn't this thing coming around? Well, nobody can get to us, and so you look at COVID and the way I say it, our team's been running COVID since 2017. We've just been stretched. The whole deal was I was a small business, little guy. I was the Little City Brewing was the last of 5 that I opened in a year and 9 months. So, concept here, concept there. And it just kind of put a hurting on us. So then we came out of, coming to COVID and felt like we had muscles for it a little bit. We were running that deal and, everything shut down. We laid off the company like everybody else. Architect stayed closed officially. Legally, we couldn't open until about 2 weeks ago. And, that's one of those judgment calls where we were working on some paint and some stuff like that. So we're like, do we open right away? And that side of town was sort of needing some oomph. We need some oomph in downtown. Glenwood Avenue has taken a pretty good run and pulled a tremendous amount of people over in that direction, where the downtown proper area near Fayetteville Street in Raleigh has been quiet. But it's a sleeping giant. We're ready to pounce again.
Love it.
We've been working on getting the merchant open. I've been evicted from one building, had to file a lawsuit, get back in the building, which
one is that?
That was Virgil's, Linus and Peppers, and Level Up was closed. That's where we're putting the merchant. And so when we went back in, we rebranded Virgil's and did more of a, entree driven, eat down tempo DJs every night, cocktails, vibe, dark candles. It's really awesome. And we haven't done lunch. There's no density downtown. People aren't working in their offices anymore, you know? So really happy with how that was. I swear I went back in that building, and right up until opening Virgil's, you know, I was filling out the reservation software, helping the manager get situated, get ready for opening. And I was telling myself, I was like, why in the hell did you go back in here? And why are you doing this? You could have walked away, right? And, you know, the lights came down, the candles were lit, and the music went up. And I was like, man, this is great. Feels really good. We're on to something. Let's roll, you know. And the merchant's going to be really dope. Looking good upstairs, super sexy cocktail bar. I've got a vintage Coke machine that from like 1960s era that I'm going to put on the front door.
Nice.
So that'll be the secret door there, as you know, similar to the Green Light, which has been awesome. The Green Light was in Rolling Stone in February. We had about this big moment of fame in Rolling Stone, and then we closed in March, right? That was 2020. So that little guy is in there ready to open its secret door and do some more cocktails. And then, you know, we got to kind of figure out what the architect looks like from a, you know, busy DJ bar perspective in an area where we were one of two bars that were kind of propping up downtown. There were only two busy bars in downtown, and it was Coughlin's and it was us, and Coughlin's is closed forever. So, but there's plenty of restaurants and stuff down there, and they're making a stab at it. Sonny over at St. Rock has been just impressive. He's a friend, and I've just watched him work every day through this thing, and they're doing pretty decent business. And some of the places around us are still open in Raleigh Times and City and, you know, whatnot. So there's some bars that I'm not sure if are going to reopen. They haven't yet. You know, so I guess COVID shut down in March. Found out we were having a baby in June, because why not make a baby during a global pandemic? And then found out my dad had cancer in July. That was a big one. You know, I jumped through a million hoops once we kind of finally, after, you know, took a couple months to figure out his oncologist was just not taking care of him. So he's over in Tennessee. We got him out of there. And I mean, I tell that story because I think if anybody's got a sick loved one, just because of, you know, a doctor has got a good reputation and seems like they're busy and they're the place to go to, doesn't mean that it's the right place. So we pulled him out of there and sent him over to the University of Tennessee. And I mean, came with a lot of ups and downs. We almost lost him a couple times. And then, man, you know, he went through the chemo and the radiation. He lost more weight. You know, he's down to 134 pounds, gained some weight, went into chemo and radiation. He had esophageal cancer, and then came out of that, gained some more weight, went to a surgery he didn't want anything to do with, lost some weight. And then, I mean, literally the minute as my daughter was being born, we got a group text, and, you know, it gives me chills, but my dad was cancer free. And, you know, the prognosis was not good last summer. I mean, he flat out, ended up with some ulcers last July, and we had him in ICU for 9 days, and he doesn't remember any of it. But it was, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I had to find little corners of the delivery room to go hide in, because I would have looked way too emotional just for my daughter, even though that was a very, very happy moment.
Man.
It was heavy, man, and it came through literally as she was being born. I mean, she.
When was she born? What was
she born? So February 10th.
So okay, man. So you guys are right. Well, look. So here we are. Do you and I talk? This was not intentional, by the way. Dude? Here we are talking on March 19th. Didn't you tell? I think if we look back and looked at our timeline of when I think we've talked like every March now or something like that. That is weird, because this was totally random. Like, I didn't think about that literally until just this second. But you were just talking about how March is always tough. And I know that we talked like right after the fire, and then we talked, last year, right before the pandemic or something.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm looking through our text, but go ahead, I'm listening.
well, I mean, and those have been these tough things, but now maybe March this is the year that it turns, right? Because you got your beautiful baby girl, you got your dad cancer free, there's a vaccine out there, there's sort of light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, America has, I mean, the savings rate in this country, personal consumer savings rates like higher that's been in decades, because people haven't been able to do anything. So they're ready to get out. They want to hit your places, man. They want to hit independent, cool places all over. And then there's this, the latest round. I kind of gave up on trying to keep up with all the details, but I do know that there was a significant amount, billions of dollars allocated to restaurants because of, in part because of the work of the IRS and restaurant collision.
Excuse me.
In large part because of them. I know they've been working really hard, but there's a significant amount of money allocated specifically for restaurants, right?
Yeah, it's 28 billion.
28
which,
billion. Okay.
I mean, I'd stay positive, but you also look at like the reality of things too. It's like they just released 1.9 trillion dollars, right, on this new stimulus. 28 billion. So you're talking about 1900 billion dollars, right? If you do the math right, 28 of that is allocated towards restaurants. But when you look back on it, one of the most shattered industries, and we employ far more than that percentage, right? So, you got to be grateful for what's coming down, but you look at it too and you go, is that going to be enough? I mean, that's a lot of money, ton of money.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, but you spread it out across, tens of thousands of restaurants, bars, and brew pubs. And is that really enough? And especially when you look at the tremendous amount of money that was just printed to do this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I've got friends down in Florida who had their best year yet. They were closed for a little while and they're on the water and they've got an outdoor space and they just cranked, out of the pandemic. And I mean, they might have been down a little bit, but they had record breaking days and record breaking months. Maybe they were down 5%, which is, just kind of buffered by the downtime, but they kind of caught it in the right time. It's like, my buddy down there, their slow season is what, July, August, September, or June, July, August. And so they got to ride that slow season out anyway, where they weren't really ever closed and this came out of their stroking. So, state by state, I think that's the challenging part, right? Because North Carolina was certainly not a friendly state to what we were doing. Again, Architect and Greenlight closed since March 17th, 2020, right? And just, I haven't reopened them yet. That's a hard call. And the tough part about it too, everything's opening now at once. There's been no planning. There's no cushion of the blow. It's like, you're closed. We'll let you know if you're going to be open on Friday. Friday up, you can't open. Months go by. Okay, Friday you can open, next week or, whatever, right away. And it's this mad dash and this mad scramble. And now every restaurant and bar in the city is scrambling for the same labor pool, right? I mean, it was hard to hire people before.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a big hindrance. My core bartending staff have been with me for years. They don't want to bartend anymore. They're done. They're like,
Really?
they're working day jobs. They're like, we realized that 2 a.m., that 3 a.m. schedule was just not making me, just wasn't good for me, and they were getting up earlier in the day and having more of a normal life. And I can tell you, I got spoiled with that too. I think the beginning of the pandemic, the true shutdown, even though we were still working 65 hours a week, the management team was, and my chef was a grill cook and my manager was a cashier and we were doing the curbside and the to-go. I was home at 9:30 every night. I had Sundays off. And when I had Sundays off and I was home at 9:30, the doors were locked. The alarm was set. There was no, this person cut their hand off, or, the alarm went off, or, there's always something open from 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. most days. And wasn't the case. Right. And that was, that might have been some of my favorite time in the last 20 years of my life. I can
Yeah.
honestly say that, it was quiet, and the quality of life was there, and you realize, man, this is tough business. It's tough, and has been, and we love it for the gratification it brings instantly. We love it for the we get kind of high on that guest experience. We get high on putting cool stuff out. We get really excited when it's busy, and we're really not healthy mentally when it's slow, right? And but it's tough, man. It's tough business. It really is.
It's a tough business, man. I mean, it's why I always say, I have so much respect for you and all your peers that do what you do, because it's also an important business. I think it's an extremely important business. It's what makes or breaks, not makes or breaks, but it's certainly one of the, when you think about where people want to visit, when you think about where people want to move, where people want to go, and you start going, well, why is that place cool? Why do you want to go to Austin? Why do you want to go to Raleigh? Why do you want to go here or there? It's, man, well, because they got these, one of the first things you say is, well, they got these awesome restaurants and cool places to hang out. And, man, we're on spring break this week. We went up to Asheville for a couple of days, but man, everybody else I know, they all took their families down to Florida. Why? Because they can, because there's stuff open and people want to go be out and do. And and at the end of the day, we don't have to get into a lot of the details about North Carolina. I agree. It's been, there's certain ways to look at this. One is, people are smart and figure things out themselves. And one is, I know the right thing and I'm going to sort of decree what happens. And we've had a lot more of that. And it's been tough, but that is nearing an end. It is. And people would rather just go out where they are than have to take their family all the way down to Florida just to go, enjoy some activities. So, yeah. And the whole bill with the 1.9 trillion, I'm sure there's got to be lots of BS pork in there. There always is with that stuff, but man, I hope it's, I can't wait to talk to you, John, mid-late summer, once everything's really kind of just moving again, and see where you're at. And I hope that it's good to hear that you had that time where you were able to have, slow down and kind of reset. And I hope that with your child and your dad's health and all that you've been through, man, I hope you're able to find, and I say this to you and I say this to so many people in the industry that I think are in the same place now, going, man, all I did all the time was work my ass off, 80, 100 hours a week, late nights, nonstop, saying yes to everything, to everybody, for everything. And then so many people were forced to stop doing that and kind of find, and reset and remember what matters, which is this, right? It's not, it's this, it's that balance. I hope you're able to get a little more of that. It's very hard in your industry, but I bet you'll figure out a way, particularly with, growing family and all that stuff, man. And I'm real glad that you're down. Dude, you're like 10 minutes from me now when you're home. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold you to it, man. We're gonna hang out, man, and just keep the conversation going and enjoy life, and enjoy each day as much as possible. Because I'm sure that I know once I had kids, man, it just changed everything with like what matters, right? What's important.
Yeah, that's the important part, right? And I tell you, the machine's chugging right now, and you got to keep your eye on the prize when it keeps, when you talk about the important stuff. But the machine is chugging. You talk about you and me. We're going to hang out. This is great because home base is now right down the street from you, and I'm basically traveling to work, and I think that's a good thing. All my stress and worry and work is in Raleigh, and I can be down there and be a little more present with the family stuff. Our families are nearby. Her sisters and friends and mom and dad and my mom, stepdad and friends and you and other folks floating around there. So that's exciting. And, work wise, I mean, you talk about, the balance. I mean, we're closed on Mondays and I'll try to do that forever. I wish I could close on Sundays, but it's just Sunday is the new Friday night, really. I mean, get your Saturday, and
Yeah.
we're open till 11, but the machine is chugging along. I mean, when we were closed at 9, people were out a little earlier. It was really tough to do business. Like there weren't enough of them out. The 11 o'clock thing hit and the lines at the bars were, starting to wrap around the block, and that's a good thing. But again, it's going to push to the 2 a.m. someday again. And we're going to have to pivot and adjust. And I think sooner or later, I mean, the memories of past are short and people will be back in that swing for better or for worse. It's certainly going to be extremely competitive. People have opened places during the shutdown and built them. We've certainly been privy to that too. So, Raleigh is going to grow, it's going to move, and the competition level is great for the consumer. And it is, it's a hustle for us, so we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna fight the evil landlord battle. That seems to be the thing. They forget too. I mean, I've got one, they've almost doubled our rent coming out of it, not honoring a renewal, and I got kicked out of one and had to sue, like I said. And then I've got another landlord that's just been great. So, it's that deal. They're you come out of it and you're not making money yet, but everybody's looking for theirs. So I think we're all fighting some of those battles. I think that's happened to a lot of us. I swore when I was 27 years old, I'd never have a landlord, but when you work for yourself and you got to answer to somebody, it's challenging.
Yeah, man. Well, I want to find out how that goes, man. We need to definitely stay in touch. But I want you, when you can get settled in, you got a little one now, but at some point here, let me know, man. We need to go down to Waxhaw, down to Virtuoso Bakery. You been down there yet?
Okay. Yeah. I
Freaking,
haven't been there.
oh, it's incredible. Phenomenal, man. So we'll go down there and get some coffee and hang out sometime and eat some of their ridiculously good baked goods, man.
That'd be great. I do have a sweet tooth. You won't find any complaints from me on that.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
But that's to your point, right? Like why do people go places? They go for the coffee shops, they go for the restaurants, they go for the bars, they go for the stuff you can go out. I mean, what really is there? I mean, you go hang out outdoors and do stuff, or you go to the movies, or you go out to eat and drink and whatever else. I mean, there's not a whole lot else left in the world for entertainment, right? Like it's a lot of what you do. So, I think everybody, hats off to everybody. Everybody's been grinding, man. And people have worked through this thing. And you've seen some people survive because they've been willing to show up every day. And it's been a thing.
Dude, so good to catch up. Congrats again. It was so great to talk the other day, man. I'm glad to see your face, and I look forward to seeing you in person, in the flesh here soon. And appreciate you doing this, as always.
Yeah, man. Of course, it's always great. It's good to see you too. Looking good with that clean face. No more beard.
All right, dude. Well, congrats again. I can't wait to meet your beautiful baby girl, your bride. We'll make it happen soon. All right.
Okay, buddy. Thank you so much.